We welcome you all to this first episode, and here today with me we have Mr. Chandan Mishra, who is from a renowned background, and he has been into this industry which is called helping startup, with a lot of experience which he carries. And today for our questions we have him on our board, and he will be helping us to know more about how we can resolve certain issues, certain new initiatives that can be taken, or some precautionary measures that we should take while doing business or starting a business. Welcome, Mr. Chandan Mishra.
Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you so much.
So, when I say doing business in today's world is no different than what we used to have in our earlier days, when we used to see our grandparents or maybe friends of grandparents or nearby or known person or friends or family doing or starting a business. What it was needed was the basic thing, which was a zeal to do something.
Correct.
And then of course some amount of money and patience, which is must. So in today's environment, what do you see? What is your idea about this new startup thing, and how? What do you suggest to people who want to get into business now?
Okay. So thanks for that setting up that background. Okay. So I'll say the basic principles have remained the same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You require passion, a very very heavy amount of passion, to start a startup. And then you need funding, you need blessings from your parents, and plus you need that idea.
Correct.
Okay. So once you have that idea, which is solving a particular problem in a locality or a society, then you can just go ahead, set a shop, or begin with whatever you are thinking.
Correct.
So the basics have remained the same over the period of years,
mm-hmm.
or over the period of generations.
Mm-hmm.
It just is more digitized.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than anything else.
You would possibly name it as digitized when you say it's like the basic digital thing, or it's like some innovations, nested with couple of methodologies, technologies, and related thing which will boost the whole idea.
Okay, so I'll cover the small background of your village setup or maybe small town setup.
Sure.
So earlier, in a small town, what used to happen, you used to figure out a need, and that need was based on your personal experience. Say, for example, you wanted a toothpaste, and then you start looking for a shop, and then you see, fine, there's no shop which is selling toothpaste, and you have to go like 5 kilometers down to get a toothpaste. Now, so that example, you figure out a need that you need a shop which should be very near to your home. Okay. Now, when you figure out that particular need based on your pain point, based on your personal pain point, or based on pain point of your maybe father or mother, or maybe based on a pain point which is by your neighbor, and then so you figure out one problem area, and then you go on set up a shop, and you remove that pain point for everybody. So similarly, in today's world, what's happening is the entire concept is now digital. You figure out a pain point which exists in a digital space.
Is it the pain point, or is the need that is required? I mean, pain point is like a very deep need, whereas a need is I need it.
No, so need can be fulfilled by multiple players. Okay, so it has to be a pain point. The need is a vitamin. Okay, so there are two things that when we talk in startup parlance, there are two kind of scenarios. One is either you are selling a vitamin or you are selling a painkiller.
Okay.
What are you exactly selling? So if you're selling a painkiller, your chances of success is more than what if you're selling a vitamin. So you need vitamin when doctor prescribes it, and you need it only for a finite period of time and stuff like that. But you need a painkiller like almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
And
if you're in pain.
Yeah, if you're in pain, and you need that immediately and urgently. Mm-hmm. So that always remains. So mm-hmm. It has to, the startup problem, the startup who is solving a problem has to look into that particular pain area that they are solving. It cannot be a vitamin, because vitamin will be dead in few years.
Okay.
If you do that kind of stuff.
Probably there will be more competition in the vitamin area, whereas resolving issue would be, welcomed much better.
Correct. So vitamin is something wherein a lot of competition can come up very easily. Your idea is very easy to copy. Everybody can jump in and provide a solution. Whereas solving a pain problem is real tough task.
So that idea, how to make it sure or certain that this is a problem solver or just a vitamin?
Okay, so there are certain steps, okay, when we launch a startup or when we think of launching a startup, there are certain things, okay, that you should do. Okay, so one is the first step is validating your idea, or
Okay.
validating the problem, okay, that you're solving. You're actually solving a problem or not, and is it valid or is it feasible enough, okay, to do that particular business. So the first thing that you do is you look into, you have that problem statement, which you have solution for. Then you look up find if it is illegal or it's a legal solution.
Yeah.
You have to first see the law of the land and see whether it is compliant to the general public or not.
Okay.
The second,
So very important point.
Yeah.
Law has to be ascertained.
It has
When you
to
have
be
an
compliant
idea,
to law.
first of all, look at its legal,
Legal aspects of
aspects of
business.
it and legal clearance rather.
Correct.
Okay.
Because then, okay, before starting you're dead, okay, or you might have pumped a lot of money and you'll be dead soon. So no point.
So it's like blockchain started maybe with those coins and all, bitcoins and all.
correct.
Then later on it had to just go off because
Correct.
Indian government is not ready to get into all that.
Correct.
That's really a brilliant point.
So second thing is, of course, how much time it's taking to the market.
Okay.
So if it is taking 5 years down the line to develop the solution, okay, then the idea is not feasible enough.
Okay.
So there's no point, okay, developing an idea which will take, say, 5 years or maybe 2 years to just develop it. You can't be developing a problem or prototype for more than 6 months. Okay, so that 6 months is your deadline.
Okay.
If you can develop a product in 6 months, okay, yes, okay, you should develop it. The third thing, it should not cost you so much, okay, or it should not cost you much to develop a prototype or develop a product. It cannot be, okay, that, okay, you need to have millions of dollars first to build the product and then, okay, take to market. You should be able to build the prototype in few $100,000, which should come from, say, friends and family or maybe from your own funding.
So three things: legal, then the time frame, then the
Yes,
cost.
yes.
So three elements. Very
Three
good.
elements.
That's
Very
perfect. Do you think there's anything else which is needed in it, or it is just these three elements? The basic.
No, it's not these three elements. So the basic product. So these three are environmental factors which you should always take care of. Okay, before even jumping on to developing a prototype or innovation. Now the second thing that you should look at is what is the innovation, okay, that you're bringing in. Is it a 10x improvement over the existing player, or it's a completely new solution altogether?
Okay.
So there has to be some bit of element of innovation, okay, that should be there for any startup.
Correct.
So
that innovation has to be there.
Yes.
So do you think the right talent is also equally important? Because three things when you say
yes.
legal,
Right.
time, cost, and of course people who are going to do it.
Of course. So I think I missed that point. Okay, the right amount of talent. Okay, if you're developing an AI-based startup, if you started like 20 years back, you would not have got the right software or maybe the right people to develop it.
In fact, if
now
you ask
everything
me,
is available.
Correct. If you ask me, I remember about 20 years back, when I was going through my software engineering, we used to have AI, artificial intelligence then also. But it was like, the softwares were different, the need was different.
Correct.
So the solutions were also different.
Correct.
But the same technology is being developed, redeveloped, and now today what we have, artificial intelligence, is totally different.
Correct. Now you can take a degree in AI from a US university or from an Indian university. So you have now right amount of talent. Okay, who knows? Okay, fine. Yes. Okay, you have TensorFlow. Okay, which has all the algorithms. Okay, you have tools. Okay, which are available. Basically, you have tools which are available. You have talent which is available. You have people who can code that particular software for you. So then, yes, of course, okay, the right team actually makes a hell lot of a difference. It's actually the second most important thing that you'll do is building a team.
Perfect. That's really a humongous task if you ask me, because right people, right place.
Yeah.
That's what
Right
is the
time.
success story.
Right
Yes,
time.
right time. Correct. Money is very important. That too. Okay, so taking it forward, we start from a community. We understand there's a need of a toothpaste in the market. Put a shop where we can sell toothpaste to the people of the village. So perhaps that village is a community. So we belong to the same old thought where we have a community, and community is what is going to give you revenue.
Absolutely. So if I look at from a startup perspective, a startup constantly looks for feedback at idea stage, at prototype stage, at product stage, at growth stage, at any given stage.
Correct.
Okay? It looks for constant feedback from the community, and if the feedback is available from a community, then it helps the startup to grow faster, or maybe avoid a lot of pitfalls or mistakes. So it's good to have a startup being part of a good incubator, or a startup part of a very good community which has lot of people who come from various diverse backgrounds. And once these people come from diverse backgrounds, they come up with different perspectives. And understanding things or looking at things from various different perspectives helps a startup to refine the product or refine the solution and then take it to the market. Perfect. So it's always helpful for a startup to interact with some kind of community, whether it is his own community or maybe a community in some other different country or markets or stuff.
So that's great. The community is very important because ultimately you're going to sell it to the community, get feedback from the community, and of course if you need funds, that also will you can generate from the community itself. So arranging those funds is very important. When I say you have a thought, you have an idea, so you arranged your time, you created a product with a cost, and then you had the right talent. You created a prototype now. The prototype is ready. What do you think the first step a startup should do to take it to the market?
So once you establish that, yes, you have a viable business, and you can solve that particular problem, it's not going to cost you much, and you can take this very, very fast to the market. The second stage comes as validating your idea. Is your idea good enough? Will it sustain the forces of the nature or forces of the market or competition or stuff like that?
So how are you going to do it? I mean, what a startup should think?
Okay, so we discussed community. And now the community comes back in to help the startup in a big way. And this is the place where the startup needs community the most. Okay. And this stage is called validating the idea. So you go back to the community and you ask them that, look, I have an idea. And this is how it's going to solve a particular pain point or problem. Will you buy it? Or will you invest in it? So ask these particular questions to set of consumers or set of investors or set of influencers who are there. So at this step, you don't have a product. You're just going back to people and asking them that if I solve this problem for you, will you buy it? So you have to do a bit of market research. Now, coming back to the same example of old shop in a village, you go back to a lot of people in the village and say, I'm setting up a shop, would you buy from the shop? And people will say, yes. And then you set up the shop because you have already validated that particular idea.
But nowadays, people are very, particular about if the idea is being shared by within the community, it's gone. I mean, they can probably start their own.
It's never like that.
I mean, everyone has a fear. Let me be very straightforward on that.
No. So I'm very clear because I've interacted with lots of startup founders who will say, okay, fine, I'll not share my idea. You have to share that particular idea.
Okay.
And don't be scared. Because execution is the key. Your team is the key. Anybody who is stealing your idea, making a product, will not get successful. It's not that easy. That you bring an idea and I copy that idea and I'll be successful. Every founder thinks. Every founder is like blinded by self-love of that particular idea or love of that particular idea.
At times they have insecurity also. If somebody will steal it or something. So how, is there any legal way to do that? Or it's just that they have to be out?
No, just be there. Just
outspoken
share your idea.
About the subject.
Yeah, be outspoken. Just share your idea with everybody. Nobody's going to steal it. Even if they steal it, they will not have your execution ability. If you believe so much in your idea and you have the passion, if that's your personal idea and based on your pain point, then yes, of course, fine, you should go ahead and share with everybody. What you're going to get is a very, very active feedback, and you should not hold yourself back. And fine, I'm not going to share my idea. I'm not going to share my PowerPoint. I'm not going to share my presentations to anybody who might be potentially interested in investing in me. So then you lose those potential investors, then you lose your potential clients, and then ultimately the startup never takes off.
So people out there should listen to this, what he said. Chandan recently, just shared with us that you don't have to be insecure about your idea. Just be open about it. Talk to the community, share with them, and get the positive, negative, whatever feedback comes to you, and then work around. Possibly that'll give you more strength to actually execute or probably change some portion of it. Am I right?
Correct.
Perfect.
It will help you strengthen that particular idea.
That's great. So Chandan, validation is one part for which we'll go to community and get it done. So anything else we seek from community apart from validation of idea?
So once we did your market research, okay, once we did your validation things, then you have to build a prototype.
Would you suggest hiring some marketing research agencies for it?
No. Just go and talk to people.
Okay.
There are hardly enough people. See, you're solving a problem for a limited geography. It's either you'll be solving for a city like Bangalore, or maybe Tel Aviv, or maybe Sydney, or maybe New York, or maybe Beijing, or maybe even smaller
country
area,
specific, yeah.
Or maybe very smaller area, even smaller than Delhi. So you are pinpointing your problem or solution to one particular limited geography or one particular segment. Okay, you're not expanding it to
larger audiences.
And you should never expand it to larger audience.
Okay, 1-to-1.
Yeah, right now, okay, the market research is primarily 1-to-1, or maybe one-to-many. Okay, but it's not at the digital platform.
Not at the digital.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
So once you have done this, once you have validated the idea, then you start building prototype. Okay, and prototype could be a one-pager website, or maybe a very very small app, or
the basic framework.
Extremely basic framework. Okay, I've seen people sharing PowerPoint or keynote presentations. I've seen people sharing videos just to get an idea whether you will buy this particular product or not. So once they come up with a basic prototype, they share the prototype with the community. Like this is how it's going to look like. This is how it's going to feel like. Would you pay for it? A better method has come these days, and people are doing it, which is launch a one-pager website and invest some $100 or $200 or maybe few hundred rupees
to create a video out of it.
No, to create a Facebook campaign.
Okay.
Tag your audience, who is exactly your right customer. Just reach out to them. The ad will reach out to all these people, and if these people click on that particular ad, okay, fine, yes, your idea will have a market.
Chandan, I would like to know why it is always thought about that if an idea is coming from an engineer, and that too from an IITian, is an idea, otherwise it's not an idea. Is it a mindset, or what do you call it?
No, I'll say that as society bias, maybe. Okay, so if you're from IIT, okay, it's already validated that you are a talented student. You already come from, you already that 1% cream of that society. Okay, so it's pretty easy to rely on your education abilities or your other abilities. So that's one of the bias. Okay, that I can think of. Okay, but if you look at entrepreneurs in general in India, okay, are they all IITs? No, they're not. We Indians have been. So if you look at Gujaratis, okay, if I tell you if a Gujarati is starting a startup, okay, or Gujarati is having an idea, would you bank on that particular idea? I'll say anything that a Gujarati will do, I'll bank on it. Okay?
That's good.
Or anything a Marwari will do, or anything a Rajasthani will do, okay, I'll probably bank on it. I'll probably bank on any Indian which is there, okay, with a good idea. Okay, it's not necessary, okay, to have an IIT, but then, okay, yes, okay, that's a bias, okay, which is already there among people.
So we should tell our community that you don't need to be an IITian. If you have an idea, you don't need to be an IITian. Just go with your idea. Trust yourself, believe in yourself, and just go to the market, discuss about your idea, get the correct feedback from the right people. That's very important.
Yeah, that's very important.
Chandan, you have your own startups, you have been part of many startups, and you have seen their journey. What else is needed by a person who's having an idea, looking for a new venture, somebody who should invest in his venture and, build trust around it?
Okay, so I've interacted with a lot of VCs, I've interacted with a lot of investment bankers, and everybody comes back and says this thing, which is very key for any startup, which is, okay, and there's a very, very simple statement, fill in the blanks. Okay. I am number one or number two in dash. Fill in that blank. Fill in that blank with the geography.
Okay.
So I'm number one in, say, education in Delhi.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe in Maharashtra, or maybe say Varanasi, or maybe Warangal. So choose a geography and achieve a leadership position there.
Okay.
If you are able to do that in a particular geography, then you can replicate that model anywhere else.
Okay.
So any startup, okay, that whosoever is looking for funding should go and achieve that market leadership, or maybe a second position in that particular market, and prove, okay, that yes, the idea is sustainable in a small market. That's it.
Okay, so one has to just ensure that the idea is sustainable and in that particular market.
And successful in that particular market. Then any VC can come and fund that particular startup.
Okay, that's a great information that you've shared. Okay, once idea has been thrown to the market, feedback has been taken, and prototype has been developed accordingly.
Right.
And after the prototype is ready, what is the next take?
Okay, the next take is minimum viable product.
Okay.
So you have to develop a product now.
MVP.
MVP, that's called. So once you start building an MVP, you should start with, say, maximum 3 key features.
Okay.
Not more than 3 key features. You don't start building with 100 features or maybe 10 or 20 features for a consumer. Just build 3 key features and see whether you're able to bring in a wow factor for the customer.
Okay.
Now, what is a wow factor? A wow factor is something wherein a customer, when opens the app or uses the product, looks at it and gets delighted. That yes, wow, okay, it solves my problem. Or it brings me that wow experience.
So that wow experience is very important.
Yes.
And that wow should come from those 3 key features that
Yes,
one
absolutely,
should
absolutely.
plan.
Yeah.
And once, let's say let's say prototype is ready now after this.
Okay, so your minimum viable product is ready.
Is ready,
Okay.
yeah.
So you should launch that into the market. You will get some early customers.
Okay.
Now you should start sales.
Okay.
Or start selling. Okay, so build a revenue model to it. Never do a startup which has no revenue model attached to it. Always have a revenue model attached to a startup. You are innovating either at the business model, or you are innovating at the product, or you are innovating something else. Okay, in that particular process. But in any of the cases, okay, you should never leave your business model behind. You should always have some kind of a revenue generating machine, okay, which should work at the back end.
Okay. So the revenue is very important.
Revenue is very far more important. The most important thing, okay, when I was running my startup, the most important thing I realized is maintaining the cash flow. You have to pay salaries, you have to pay rent, you have to do 100 of things. So maintaining a decent cash flow is very, very important. And if you're able to generate even a minimum amount of cash flow from the year one, even though you're negative, okay, you should keep on generating that particular cash flow.
Just to fill the gap which has been created.
Correct. You cannot work on an empty funnel. You have to, yeah.
But do you think all ideas revolve in this particular fashion, or there are some exceptions to it?
There are a lot of exceptions. So if you are bringing innovation, okay, which is like amazing innovation, okay, you leave all these cycles of validation, of say bringing a minimal viable product or stuff like that. Okay, you launch the particular product, okay, and then you're home. Okay. So you're hit.
And which is the best? When we say community has been more on social platforms rather than the one-to-one community. Where I mean, if we look at it, old school of thoughts where we have one-to-one meetings, one-to-many meetings, but meeting in person where a trust can be built. On the contrary, when we look at social media, people maybe, one person might be having 10 profiles and who's just, making no sense in the social area, and just to, create a chaos or maybe do his own bit there. So which one is better? I mean, just to get the, correct hold of the market, as you said that he has to throw it into the market. So do you think that prototype should go to the social media also help somehow? Or is there any strategy which one should follow? Like pushing it to a normal community and pushing it to a social community?
Okay, I'll say, okay, let's push it on the social media and start pushing your product. If it is a B2B product, okay, you'll have to start pushing it to the relevant people.
Market.
Okay, relevant market. So you'll have to take it to the consumers and let them realize, okay, yes, okay, fine, it's a fantastic product. Unless you do that, okay, unless you get that feedback, you'll not be able to scale your product, or you'll not be able to refine the particular product. You'll not be able to see, okay, what problems a customer is facing. Now I'll give you a simple example. So it's a Dropbox example. Now when Dropbox came in, okay, they achieved the virality, and people were getting hooked to Dropbox. Okay, and they were recommending that product to many other people. But what Dropbox saw is the activation rate is only 40%. So people who are making an account, they're not able to upload the files.
Correct.
Okay. So when they're not able to upload the files, what they do, why they're not doing it? So they fixed that particular problem, and then activation rate jumped. So even if you achieved some kind of success in terms of acquisition, okay, your product excellence is still very important part of it.
So like the minor successes cannot ultimately lead to a bigger success that you're actually looking at.
You'll have to constantly improve, constantly evolve, constantly innovate, and you have to take your consumer feedback into mind. So unless you go to the market, unless you achieve some kind of traction, and then keep on refining the product over a period of time, you'll not be able to achieve a great product. Okay, and you'll not be able to achieve a product market fit.
That's a very important take for the people who are watching us, and it's very important. Chandan, it has also been watched by a lot of people that, as you said, improve, evolve, and innovate is important once your prototype is ready and it is being thrown into the market, and feedback has been coming back to the innovators, to the makers. So they have to constantly do these improvements. At what stage one should look for a VC? That's a very basic question. If let's say I want to do a startup, at what stage I should go to the market and ask for money? It's very important. Even though knowing the fact that money is a lifeline. How to just make sure what should be my stage? If let's say I'm a stone, I'm just giving you more detail to it. Let's say I want to innovate something which has got to do with a stone-based artifacts. So that's primarily a different zone altogether. It's not digital.
Correct.
And let's understand, startups can be in any segment.
Correct.
And knowing the fact that if you look at Kickstarter or any other platform where people have been, though we are not promoting Kickstarter here, let's be very clear, but that's one of the platform people know, and people invest, and there are people who ask for money from there. Correct. But at what stage Indian innovator or Indian startup should ask for money?
Typically, when you have achieved your product market fit, or when you're looking to scale. Okay. So usually, at a growth stage, when you're just entering the growth stage and your product will be successful, so once you had some traction, once you have people, you have customers, you have revenue paying customers, people who are paying you money. Once you have some of these on board, then you should go and raise money. So I'll give you a basic number. Say, if you have 10,000 subscribers or maybe 20,000 paying subscribers, then you should go and ask for money.
So it becomes easier for the person to trust you, even if you're not an ITian, right?
Correct.
So our entire thing revolves around, if you're not an ITian, and how to succeed. So you get your prototype, go to the market, and if it is, the success rates are there, and you're getting some constant feedbacks for the improvement and all, do it, and then ask for money. I think that's the best way.
Correct.
So initial money probably he has to arrange from somewhere, maybe friends, family.
Correct.
So what is that mode? How to convince? I mean, you have to convince internal customers. So how to do that? So would you suggest anything?
See, the most tough discussions are the dining table discussions.
Dining table discussions. Yeah. Good.
And when you interact with the parents and say, okay, fine, yes, okay, you have to fund me to do this particular thing, okay, and then you have thousands of doubts from the family. If you're able to convince that dining table conversation, then you can convince anywhere in the world.
Wow.
So I think that's the first stage that you should cross.
Mm.
Yes, you should ask money from your friends. You should ask money from your family, and after that, within that limited amount of money, you should be able to get a prototype up and running.
So minimum viable product should be ready.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's a brilliant idea. I think that has been India's core way of doing business. If you talk about the ancient time, when I want to do a business, I go to my family, I'll ask them, I have an idea, I want to do this, I want to set up this. They will ask 1,000 questions, and I'm telling you, they're the first ones who are going to screw your happiness, because they will say, oh, you're just going to burn our hard-earned money. How is it possible?
Correct.
Probably the other one would say, okay, yeah, I got burnt, but then family is like,
okay, but somebody in the family trusts you, and they provide you with money, either uncle or maternal uncles or somebody. I'll tell you my personal experience. When I was developing this photo app, which I was doing some few years back, I went to my uncle and I asked him, will you give me some money? And he said, okay, fine, what's the idea? He was looking for opportunities to invest in. I convinced him to invest in my opportunity.
That's good.
Yeah, so you'll figure out somebody in your family or extended family to invest.
Very good. So I would suggest you bring that wow factor in your idea and look for the first-hand money from your family or friends. Yes. That's the best and the easiest. Of course, the toughest too. But then, yes, I'm sure you will be able to convince them.
I'll be next achieving product market fit.
Okay. So just give some enlightenment to us.
Okay. So what is a product market fit? First, let's define what is a product. So when a customer is using a product and you shut down that particular product, and 40% of the customers start screaming why you did that, you have achieved a product market fit. Another way to define it, your product has a product market fit when one customer starts recommending you to another customer.
Okay. So recommendation is word of mouth. When you have started generating word of mouth, you have achieved a product market fit. That's how I will define it. Now let's look at very, very fair examples, which have achieved a great product market fit. So when you go to and meet few friends after a long period of time, and you ask them, are you on Instagram? So your question you're asking, are you on Instagram? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you on Facebook? Let's connect. So what are you doing? You're promoting that particular product. Yes.
Okay. The product has achieved.
Knowingly or unknowingly, you're actually pushing a product.
Actually, so you have achieved a product market fit. You're recommending that particular products. Look, I'm on Instagram. Okay, are you on Instagram? Okay, I'm on Facebook. Are you on Facebook? So people have ways of recommending it. This is one way of recommending it. Another way of recommending is when I listen to Spotify, I keep on sharing on my social media, or I keep on sharing on WhatsApp. And maybe YouTube. Okay, so we all share YouTube videos.
Correct.
Okay, so we like a particular content, and knowingly, unknowingly, we share that particular video to somebody. So that's how you are promoting platforms. But generating a word of mouth either through a messaging channel or directly is very, very important.
Okay.
So if you're able to achieve it, okay, then it's great. Even in B2B scenario, so let's look at B2B scenario. Why Slack has achieved a phenomenal level of success.
Chandan, it was a wonderful information that you have shared with us, and I'm sure our audiences are looking at it, and they will certainly appreciate the kind of knowledge that we have shared today with them. The only thing which is still coming to my mind is, okay, we have a product ready in the market, and we're getting the constant innovation around it and getting it, the innovation done in the product. Now, what next? How to bring in the growth, how to increase the scalability, they are the two main core factors which I think any startup would look at. So kindly advise us how to do that.
Okay, so once your product has achieved some degree of product market fit, or maybe achieved full product market fit, then you need funder to blitzscale, so something which is called blitzscale, capture all the markets at one go. Okay. So right now, you are available at one particular market, and then you have to expand, say, to all India or to a different geography.
Correct.
What you'll do is you will have to look at factors which will instigate the virality of the product. So you'll have to have social sharings, referrals. You have to have that bit of what do you call it? Surprise elements within your product, which will help people share it or talk about it. So once people start talking about it, and then you promote your product, there's far greater chance that far more people will talk about it.
Okay.
So then that is when you will achieve the real growth. So in today's world, in digital world, the only growth that matters is the viral growth.
Viral growth, okay, yeah.
There's no other growth that's achievable. And virality is a function of people recommending to other people and the frequency of people recommending it to other people. So say for example, I recommend one product to somebody, and I recommend to 10 different people, and these 10 different people recommend it to say 15 times to all other people. So you have me recommending to 10, then these 10 recommending it to 15. So you have far greater virality that's been created. So we have to create that virality.
So how to achieve that? Is that only the social media that is, or the word of mouth also makes sense?
No, word of mouth is the key.
Or there can be some other third element which can be created, which we are not aware.
Okay, so it doesn't happen on social media. Okay, first it happens first word of mouth. Then you will see the evidence on social media.
Okay.
So there are people who are talking about the product. You will see first people talking about the product, and then you will see there is some kind of invitation coming to you or some kind of recommendation coming to you on digital. So word of mouth always follow or precedes the social media evidence.
So ideally, when we say it, the one thing which when we look at growth and scale, it is a process of growth that we have, and then the virality of the product.
So first thing is your product or your content. Say for example, you understand content very deeply.
Yes, content is
when one movie becomes is a good movie. You hear about it first from your friends, or you may inquire about it from your friends. How was it? Good, bad, ugly.
Correct.
So, and fine. It is good, that's why you're inquiring about it. Or your friend calling you and telling you, fine, go watch that movie, that's a very good movie. So before you have checked on digital media or that particular platform or in a cinema hall, the word of mouth has reached you. So if you reach a couple of recommendations from all the people, you're certainly going to log on and embrace that particular product. So that's how it happens for any digital product also. So recommendations always have to follow a word of mouth recommendation and then followed by a digital recommendation. Then only you will achieve a great degree of virality.
So virality is there now. People are aware about it. But how to retain? That's also very important.
Correct.
So retention of particular...
Correct. You cannot have a funnel where people are coming in, you're generating a lot of word of mouth, people are coming and then they're not using the product that much, and then they're falling off. So there are different metrics that people actually check. Now Facebook have an interesting metric. Facebook says, if you don't have more than, if you don't have say 15 friends, you're more likely to churn off.
Okay.
Yeah, so because you will not generate those many feeds on your wall, so you'll not get interest in the platform, and then you're more likely to churn off. So in retention, these specific metrics are very, very important. So what's your specific metric? You have to establish it. Now on Twitter, say for example, so I'm not sure about these numbers. So people can...
numbers can be different.
Yeah, numbers can be different, but I'm just giving you a very, very fine example. So in Twitter, if you don't follow say 20 people or 25 people, you're more likely to churn off.
Okay.
Now on WhatsApp, say for example, for WhatsApp, what is one metric that matters most? And that metric is if you don't message, then you're not my customer.
Correct. If you message, then only you're my customer.
Absolutely.
Or you read a message.
Correct. So many startups say, fine, I've downloaded the app. So people who have downloaded the app, but sitting idle or not doing anything on the phone, it's an active install. People are coming and just checking it, but people are not using it. They're not really your customers.
But do you think there is a way to just, instigate that particular thing and pinpoint? Why don't you start there? So maybe a cold message of reviving that.
So you'll see Facebook recommending
because there's always a connect. There is always a link.
Correct.
Wherein you should not as we say normally in our businesses also,
Correct. So
traditional way,
that's
you
what,
should never lose your link.
correct. So that's what Facebook does. Okay, it sends so many notifications. For every like, okay, you will see Facebook sending a notification. For every activity, okay, that happens on the wall, Facebook will send you a notification. Facebook will send you so many notifications, okay, that you get irritated.
At times, yes,
okay,
people
at
get
times,
irritated.
okay, oh my goodness, so many notifications. But you love those notifications in the beginning. You hate it afterwards, okay, but you love these notifications in the beginning, that you posted a photo, somebody liked it. Okay. Or you commented and somebody liked your comment. Okay. So stuff like that. So you'll have to keep pushing the customer to engage more and more on the platform, especially the early days of the customer. So for example, 1 or 2 months, you'll have to keep pushing the customer so much, okay, that it gets hooked to the platform
And
or the product.
And they don't feel like going away from it.
Correct.
That's great. I think it is correctly said that retention is very important. And in retention process, you probably have to get back to your customers. And if they are not actively working upon it, you should just
and I'm saying,
reestablish a connect between you and your customer.
I'm adding one more point here. So if there is a startup which is a successful startup, successful in the sense, okay, they are very good in adding customers, and all such startups should have a retention head or retention manager right at the product level, who can find out these metrics.
Okay.
Because unless you find out these metrics, unless you establish that what is one thing, okay, that's holding everything, because if you don't achieve that threshold barrier, the customer is going to churn off. You have to achieve that threshold barrier, and that barrier has to be determined by somebody who is head of retention.
So retention is very important in the whole project of developing this particular startup. So let's understand, guys, it's very important to just take care of not just the product, the idea, but actually the execution part of it. As we said, that investors will certainly come and they are actually looking for projects to be where they can invest their money. But the only thing that you have to be taking care of is that you better do things strategically. And it is not much that you do in a hurry up, since everybody is getting into a wagon and you get into a wagon of getting funds in the beginning. You probably create your product, and after creating a product, go to the market and ask for money, where people would love to even invest in your product because they've seen the success enough for an investor to invest money in it.
Correct.
So as far as growth is concerned, Chandan has shared some very good important points with us: the process of growth, the virality of the product, and then of course the retention part, which is there. We have to ensure that all these things, if are there, will certainly help you grow more, better, and make your idea a success story. So because we are here to make your ideas a success story, we'll certainly come back to you with a new idea and new thoughts about this. And of course, he's there to help us understand what is the growth strategy in the whole segment. For that, keep watching us and let us know if you have any other idea or anything that you would like us to cover for you on this particular platform. Thank you so much for bearing us, listening to us, and of course we understand that you will take some benefit out of it. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Siddharth. Thank you.